Hello, welcome to my non-sham run, guys. I'm actually running today. It's my first run back from before my fight, so it's been like 2 weeks since my last run. I couldn't run right after my fight because of these stitches in my shin, but I'm back to it now. This kid is like holding a cat in his arms while he's playing soccer with his brother. He's like full on holding the cat. On this run, I did not see most of the dogs that I see on my run, and it put me in a surprisingly bad mood to not see any of them. Who I did see was this old man dog. He's a very old man, and his eyesight's not very good. So he actually came running up to me barking, but not in a menacing way. Like, he's actually kind of this grandpa dog that's like, you better come say hi to me. I'm like, yeah, you just normally totally don't even sense I'm around. But now that I see you acknowledge me, I'll totally stop and pet you. He's very sweet. I love him very much. So, I was at the gym, and there's a guy there right now who's from England, and he's fairly new to Muay Thai, but being that he's from England, even though he's had some experience with Muay Thai back home, he's really, really new to clinching because it's outside of Thailand. And he's really struggling with it, which is normal. Like, I think people have this kind of false sense of like, Muay Thai is very practical, so you can learn how to like punch, kick, and knee relatively well, you know, like not great, but like you can actually do the thing really fast. So like, as soon as you can throw punches and kind of protect yourself, you can fight. Like, it's very, very practical. And so they think that clinching is going to be like that, and clinching really isn't. The thing that's different about clinching is that you're getting feedback in real time about how well whatever it is you're doing is working, because you're working with a partner who's working against you. Your pad man's not working against you, the bag is not working against you, and for a really long time you're not really like sparring or doing anything that has like opposition to you when you're throwing strikes. So clinching, when you're getting this real-time feedback about like, this person's stronger than me, this person's getting angles that are better than mine, nothing I'm doing is working, I keep ending up in the same headlock, like, it's very, very frustrating, and you don't have that same kind of feedback loop in striking. And this guy was pretty frustrated today, and we were talking for a second when clinching was over, and he was like, I really just don't get this clinching thing. And I was smiling because he has a little bit, he's at least trained jiu-jitsu a little bit to the point where he mentions it. And I'm like, it's very similar in terms of like, it's about patience, it's about angles, it's about explosive strength, not like persistent strength. But you really just have to feel it. Like, it's like swimming, where someone can describe what you're supposed to do while swimming to you, but you can still borderline drown knowing intellectually what you're supposed to be doing while swimming, because it's actually very complicated. And he was like, this fucking dog. Like, he's really frustrated by it. And the thing is about learning clinch is it takes a really, really long time. It's like swimming, it's like learning how to dance or something. Like, you'll get kind of rote movements down, not really quickly, but like within a week or something, you'll kind of have like a base 3 moves that you move in. But then depending on how strong or how comfortable or how loose or whatever your partner is, you can feel like you're really not getting anywhere even when you're getting better. And it's not really like that with striking. But what I was realizing, and why I'm talking about this now, is that while I have this understanding about clinch being so much different and so much harder and taking so long, like you really just have to get in the water. I got my ass kicked for so long before I could do anything in the clinch. I think it's actually true about striking too, and I think that I and many, many people underestimate how much striking is also about feeling. Like I was saying before, because everything's so practical, like you can punch a bag or punch a mitt or kick a bag or whatever, and you're like, I'm doing Muay Thai. And that is true, you are doing Muay Thai. But an actually good kick or punch, or actually using it in the context of striking a person who doesn't want you to strike them, is way more complicated and like way more about feeling than I think I ever really gave it credit for. And it takes a really long time to get good at it and to get used to it. And it's a little bit like, I compare it to language a lot. It's a little bit like if you know 25 vocabulary words, but you can't really work them into a sentence. That's a little bit what striking is like. Like, people think that because they have vocab, and because you can use vocab, that this means that you actually have a grasp for the language. Whereas that is like many, many, many steps from actually being able to form a sentence which expresses something, rather than like, I know how to say that. You know what I mean? Like, when I was living in Germany, I had to translate everything from English into German and then say it. And then eventually I started being able to think in German. I actually started dreaming in German, which was really crazy. But Muay Thai is like that. Like, you're thinking of doing something, and then you try to do it, and you might get shut down by it or something, but you're like, when they do this, I'm going to do that. And when they punch, I do this. And this is basically translating in your head. And at a certain point, you can't do that in clinch. Like, in clinch, you can't really be thinking of your next move. You can maybe, like, think ahead a couple things, like, I'm going to grab his next knee because he's kneeing me a lot or something like that. But you really can't think ahead on moves that much. You can't plan moves, because you have to feel when someone's body tension is changing, and that's when you can like take your shot. That's when you can move your arm, so you can pivot, that kind of thing. Or you have to force it by kneeing the leg or something like that. And that's in striking too, but I'm just not nearly as proficient in striking as I am in clinch. So I think about these things in clinch, but I don't think about them as much in striking. But as I've been sparring so much more, and a little bit this is starting to get into my fights, I can see where that's the case there too. And I didn't do a voiceover for the Skarbowski Muay Thai library session, because he's speaking English the whole time. So we did something a little different with it, which is I did basically like an annotated commentary on it. So he's speaking for himself, he's teaching something, and then I'll like stop the video and connect it to all these other legends and crews in the library, or like a concept of something that it reminds me of. And something that he's talking about, he doesn't call it this, but it is the yoke of Muay Thai. Yoke in Muay Thai is like the rhythm, like the sway, the boxer sway that Muay Thai fighters do. And Skarbowski was talking about how it really took him a long time to like understand that he needs to do that, because when you keep your weight all on one side, like one leg or the other, you're kind of stuck. You have to like move your weight all the way to the other before you do something. So for him, sorry, dry mouth. So for him, learning how to kind of keep this motion made him much faster, much more able to move in different directions, go from offense to defense. Like, it just made him much better. Which is why fighters do this. This is what the insistence on yoke is from your Thai trainer. But I asked him while he was teaching me, because he also has this arm movement that he explains. And I'm like, is your arm going up while your weight is here, or is it going there? And he's like, no, it's not like that. He's like, I don't think about it like that. And I misunderstood him. And I was like, well, if you think about it right now as you're doing it, is it like that? And he's like, no, I don't think about it like that. And he didn't say this, but he's right. And this is, I'm explaining why he's right, is that if you're thinking about, my arm has to go up while my weight is on my front leg, and then it has to go back on my back leg, nobody thinks about this like this when they're running. Like, if you're running, your arms just pump naturally. Like, you might have like a weird thing, like there are a few like very, very skilled runners who have very weird gaits, but their arms are like more or less doing the same rhythms. They don't do the opposite of what those rhythms would be, because this is just how you generate movement in your body. So thinking about, should my arm go here while my weight is here? Should my leg go there when I'm doing this? That's not having the movement. That's not feeling it. That's just kind of memorizing how you're supposed to move. And that ends up being what you're doing. And so the point Skarbowski was making when he's like, I don't think about it like that, is you have to feel it. Like, maybe you, when you do it, your arm is slightly different than what his arm is doing, but not wildly so, because there is like a way to which the body's balance works across the board for everyone. But it reminded me of this fight I saw. I was fighting in Hua Hin. It's a long time ago. And this Western guy, I can't remember where he was from, and I can't remember what gym he was from, but he had come pretty far for this fight, and he'd been training for like 2 months or something. Like, this was a fast, very fast, I've only been training for a while and I'm gonna fight kind of thing. Very badass, very Thai. And he was having his first fight at the same card that I was in Houlihan, so I was watching his fight. He did okay, like he did really good. But the thing about it is you could see that he was doing what he'd been taught. Like he was very obediently keeping his arm in a position and keeping this kind of like rhythm moving, like he was doing Muay Thai rather than doing Muay Thai, you know? So it's like doing the choreography or doing a dance, like use your acting rather than actually just acting or actually just doing it. And this is gonna be the case for everyone when they first start. But like Tapia was looking at this kid training, and he's like, he's just so tense in everything he does. And I'm like, yeah, that's gonna shift off. Like once he gets more comfortable, that tenseness will shift off. And he's like, no, I don't think so. Like this kid is just really tense because he's like hyper focused on everything that he's doing. And that rhythm that Skarbowski is talking about, this is like between everything. Like this is the water in which the little fishies, which are all of your strikes, swim. Like the water is the element. That ambient movement is the element that everything comes out of. It's like you're neutral. And it looks a little bit like it looks a little bit like Soul Calibur, or like any video game where they're new enough that the character has like an ambient movement when they're not doing anything. So I always think of this Soul Calibur character, and I can't remember what he's called. It's like Astro Goth or something. But I really liked him, and I liked his ambient movement because he looks like Maynard James Keenan on the stage from Tool, who kind of had this like his basic kind of like he has this very like kind of like rocking back and forth thing, and I love this character. I haven't played video games since high school, but I love this character's kind of ambient movement. And this is what it's like when you see fighters in the ring kind of doing this ambient movement. And it's loose. It is not, I have been told to do this and I'm doing it. As Skarbowski was saying, where he's like, it has to be how you feel, or how I was watching this guy and I'm like, he's just doing what he's been told to do. And so 80%, 90% of his concentration of a full, I think his fight was 3 rounds, of a full 3-round fight, all your concentration is just on doing Muay Thai rather than actually like interacting with the person in front of you in the ring, or actually feeling where those strikes are going to go. And something that I really loved and was eye-opening for me training with Yod Kunpan, and this is in the Muay Thai library, but he has this emphasis on shadow boxing and footwork specifically for shadow boxing, where like you spend 3 rounds every day only doing footwork, and you don't even bring your weapons out, you don't even block, you don't do anything. And the reason is, when you're moving around that much, you actually feel where the weapon would come out. Like you feel this is where a kick would go, and you can kind of like feint it or something, but don't bring it out. Like just feel where that would go. And it's a little bit like having a conversation in your head where you don't actually have to move your mouth, you don't have to talk, but you're like in your head having a whole conversation. You're like, this is where a joke would go, this is where someone would ask me a question, this is where I could kind of talk about this thing that's interesting. And you don't have to have a like trying to work in a vocab word. You know how strange that feels? Like if you're like, oh man, I really want to talk about bats, and that's not something that's easy to talk about with people, and so you're just in this weird state of tension, not really listening to anybody because you're trying to figure out the moment that you can work in bats into your conversation. That's not really having a conversation. And this is what a lot of people, myself included, in many examples of just trying to do a thing, trying to do Muay Thai, trying to look good, trying to be femur or like soy, or like I'm gonna try to get this knee in or something, is like, it's very Yoda, do or do not, there is no try, because trying fucks you up. Trying is basically this whole like, I am concentrating 80% of my concentration on doing what I've been told to do rather than actually just getting into it. And the people that you see who are just unbelievably beautiful and who are natural actors, or who are great vocalists, or who are great conversationalists, they're not tense. Like they're not trying to do the thing. They're not trying to work something in. Like they're actually just very quick on their feet. Their tongue is very fast. They're like, I could make a joke at any moment because I could pull from 2 seconds ago, because they're listening, because they're paying attention. If you're so focused on this thing that you want to say and you're not listening, you can't even work it in properly because you haven't been listening to what anyone's talking about. So that does harken back somehow to how hard clinching is. but clinching, unlike strikes, I think, and maybe why some people really excel at it and some people don't, is that it's all about feeling. Like it forces you to be about feeling a lot faster than striking does. Striking can allow you to be tense and just doing your thing and like trying to work things in for much longer. And you can actually look much more proficient while you're trying to do that and being really tense about it than you can in clinch. In clinch, if you're like looking for something, if you're clinching someone who's any good, you're just lost in the conversation way too fast. It's like trying to keep up with, you know, John Oliver or something. Like, he's talked so fast. If you're trying to like get something in, there's no way. He's just too smart. It's just too fast. And it's like that if you're clinching with someone who's decently good. If you're clinching with someone who's really good, there's no way. Like Pet Toe, Crew F at Sitchopo, he's not a clincher. Like, he would not be talking about himself. He's a femur fighter. He would not be like, I'm a great clincher. Karahat doesn't want to be in the clinch, and yet he's an amazing clincher. People who don't want to be in the clinch can be incredible spoiling clinchers. Pattaya, great example of this. Crew F, I swear to God, when I was clinching with him, I wasn't trying to like get a certain move, but I was like, I'm going to try to get into my comfortable position, and there was just no way. Like, anytime you thought about moving to something, he would be hitting you with something or off balancing you with something. And it's like, Kevin and I always talk about how Thais train their dog or cat to stay on their motorbike. Is anytime the dog or cat tries to move towards the edge, they swat them. And so it's just like, anytime you make a movement, you're getting punished. That's what's happening when you're clinching with Crew F. Anytime you're thinking of doing something, you're already too late. You've already lost your window. That's what it's like trying to kick with Karahat. It's like he knows you're trying to kick before you do. It's insane. But they can't do that when they're like thinking about it. It has to be like way faster than thinking. So that's what I'm thinking about on my run home today. So thank you guys. It's getting a little bit dark. I gotta hustle it up a little bit, and glad to be getting back into my running because I can absolutely feel it in my pad work that I've not been running for 2 weeks. It's brutal. So hopefully getting my energy back soon. This dog wants to bite me too. Hi, baby.